Good day, Cochise County, and welcome to the Michael Zehr Show. Today is March 22nd, 2024, and we're streaming to you from the Rising Eagle Studios right here at the Warrior Healing Center on the Warrior Healing Center Network in Sierra Vista, Arizona, in the great county of Cochise. I almost said great state of Arizona. Great county of Cochise. I love living here. We got a great community. Today, my special guest veteran is Joe Teske. Joe, thank you so much for taking time out. I met you yesterday at the volunteer meeting, and I approached you to do an interview this morning, and you stepped up, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this for me. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, it's an honor and a privilege to have you here at the Warrior Healing Center. So, again, thank you for coming in. So tell us a little bit about your military background. What branch of the military did you join, and why did you join?
I joined the United States Army in 2002, and I joined because I knew that I had more going for me joining the military than staying in the civilian world where I was at.
Did 9/11 have anything to do with it too, a little bit, or?
9/11 did have a portion of it. The year whenever 9/11 occurred, I was working security for UPS as a contractor. I was in the hiring process for the Illinois Department of Corrections, and was accepted to their program. So then 9/11 happened, and I had I was going to the academy already, so I figured, well, let's give this a shot before I joined the military. I gave it a shot and decided that the military was the best route to take for my future.
Great. And what MOS did you choose, and why did you choose it?
I was an all-source intelligence analyst. 96 Bravo was the nomenclature whenever I joined.
Okay.
I actually wanted to be a counterintelligence agent, but I wasn't going to be of age to be an agent by the time I would have started my training. At least that's what my recruiter told me. So the next best thing for me was to go in as an all-source intelligence analyst, which was fantastic because it brought me to Fort Huachuca, Arizona for my training.
Okay.
And then my follow-on assignment was to Korea, where I was actually part of a counterintelligence human battalion. So I still, even though I was an all-source analyst, I was working directly with the counterintelligence field, which is where I wanted to be. So it really set me up for success later on in life.
Wow, that's great. Very cool. Where did you go to basic at?
I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, otherwise known as Relaxin' Jackson.
So are you originally from Illinois?
Yes.
Are you?
No,
okay.
Yes. I don't know.
You don't know?
So growing up, I lived in several different states, attended several different schools. At one point, I counted at least 7 or 8 different schools that I attended.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I graduated from high school in Battle Creek, Michigan, from Penfield High School. And then most of my family lives in the Michigan area or in the suburbs of Chicago. So I can claim just about anywhere. Indiana is actually the longest state I've ever lived in at one time, and I lived there from 2013 up until 2023, and now I'm kind of in a transition phase where I'm deciding on whether I'm definitely going to relocate permanently here to Cochise County or if it's just going to be a seasonal thing.
Where at in Indiana?
Elwood, Indiana is where I came from. But I lived a lot down in the Indianapolis area also.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So, how many years did you serve in the military?
I was in the military for 4.5 years.
Okay.
And like I said, I went to Korea, and I was there for almost 2.5 years. And then I went to Fort Hood, Texas, and was with the 166th Armored Battalion, 4th Infantry Division. And then we deployed from there. I got there in June of 2005, and then 2005, and then deployed in November December timeframe of 2005. Spent a year in Iraq at
Okay.
the wonderful Camp Taji, Iraq.
What was that like for you there?
It was a mixture of emotions.
Uh-huh.
It was great being there, serving my country, being there for my brothers and sisters in uniform, doing everything humanly possible to make sure that everybody came home safely. But obviously, it was war.
Right.
It was a mental battle every single day. It definitely took a toll on me, and it took an obvious toll on my brothers and sisters that I served with.
Correct.
We lost some great individuals from my unit, and that's when it really rang true that hey, we are in war.
Right.
But it was an experience that I look back on today, and I know for a fact that I am better for going through it. It was tough,
Mm-hmm.
physically, but more mentally. But I learned that every step forward was a footstep in the right direction, and I had to go through that in order to be who I am today.
Well, and not only that, we were also trying to free Iraq from a lot of the bad guys that they had over there as well, and there was a lot of fight and stuff going on. But I'm so glad that you were able to make it back home, safe and sound. And I want to thank you for your service over there, and I want to extend my condolences on the loss of your battle buddies as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
I wasn't going to get into that, but I felt so moved by your story. So tell us a little bit about coming back from Iraq. What was it like coming back to? Did you come back home here, or what was your next assignment?
Actually, I got back from Iraq in December of 2006, and then my ETS date was set for March 1st of 2007. At some point during my military service, whether it was in South Korea or whether it was in Iraq, I partially tore my ACL.
Okay.
So I had an extremely difficult time passing the PT test, and I was not allowed to do the walking event. So I got out of the military, went back to quote unquote civilian life, went back to working at the prison, and then in 2011, I went ahead and contracted. So I went to Iraq again and worked with a couple of National Guard units as a contractor, working more as on the strategic level than on the tactical level that I was at the first time. And it was awesome.
Was it a better experience for you going over there as a contractor, would you say, or just different?
Oh, it was definitely better. There really was no grooming standards, so I got to grow my beard out. It was a lot shorter than it is now. But, I got to make, for the most part, my own schedule. There were some guidelines I had to abide by, obviously. It wasn't
Right.
just a free-for-all. But the experience was one of those where as long as I was doing my job that I was there to do, nobody said anything to me negative. And that was a huge difference than my experience when I was in the military.
What was your favorite duty station while you were in, and tell us what about it made it your favorite?
Well, I only had two, so I would have to say being in Korea was my favorite. The culture, being able to experience that was something that without the military, I don't think I would have experienced that at all. We had Katusas in our unit, which for those of you who went to Korea, Katusas stands for Koreans Augmented to the United States Army.
What does it stand for?
Koreans Augmented
Okay.
to United States Army.
Okay.
And they were Koreans who came and worked side by side with us in the United States Army. They primarily worked in supply.
Was it Korean military people or civilians?
No, they were military.
Military, okay.
They were military.
Okay.
So they worked side by side with us, and then they would go home every other week or once a weekend or something like that. But when they stayed back with us, we would go out on the weekends, and they'd take us to places that we've never been before.
Right.
And it was one of those things where you pretty much had a built-in interpreter and tour guide with you. They weren't hurting for money, but we would still buy them drinks and pay for food and stuff like that when we went out, when we did those things with them. And it was cool. It was something that the experience, just I look back on it, and it's funny because I haven't looked back on it too much, but when you asked that, it was one of those things that I don't think I ever would have gotten to do. And
if you hadn't joined the military.
Right. And that's what, service to your country was by far my primary obligation. All right, that was my primary goal going in. But then you have to take all the stuff that comes along with that, and why not use it to your advantage? Why not use the education benefits? Why not use the ability to go out and see things that you've never seen before?
Right. Tell us a little bit, because I haven't been there, since you mentioned the culture and the food, and for your first time experiencing that, what was it like? Was it pretty palatable, tasteful? I mean, did you enjoy the food over there, or?
Most of the time I did. I'm one of those where I'll try just about anything once.
Really?
Yes,
okay, cool.
Just about.
Uh-huh.
I'm not into holding snakes and spiders and stuff like that.
Right.
Or eating spiders that look like spiders.
So no fear factor for you.
Yeah, fear factor would not be my thing. But with that much money on the line, who knows?
Yeah, really.
But no, the biggest positive and negative for me, food-wise, was the kimchi. All right.
Uh-huh.
And this is stuff that I don't know exactly how they make it, so don't quote me on it. But it's basically fermented cabbage that they bury in the ground in a pot, and then they pull it up however much time later, and you eat that. And it was different, but it was one of those things where every once in a while I still get a kind of a taste for it. It wasn't something I eat every day or anything like that.
Right.
But when I go out and we're going somewhere and they're like, hey, there's a restaurant over here and they got some kimchi, it's like, well, let me go get a little piece of that so I can have the experience again. I think a lot of that just reminds me of what being in Korea and having those bonds that I had with individuals there.
Very cool. What was some of your daily activities when you were over there?
Oh boy, I'm not going to go too much into that.
Well, right, because of classified information, maybe.
Well, no.
Oh, okay.
No, because a lot of the experiences there were going to work, and
right.
then when you go, for me, my experience when you go to Korea, you have a couple different people that go there. Right?
Uh-huh.
You got the individuals who go there and they take advantage of going to school. A lot of people got their degrees, or at least got credits towards their degrees while they were there, and those individuals didn't do much other than go to work, go to school, and have a little bit of relaxing time. Then you had the individuals who used that time to beef up and get more physically strong because they were just working and going to the gym. Then you had individuals that I may have fallen into the category that took advantage of the social life.
Uh-huh. I get that.
And so we actually, where our barracks were, about a mile to a mile and a half down the road, was the party central of Seoul, Korea for U.S. service members, Itaewon. And every weekend there was a party going on at a bar.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. If I look at it, and from what I've heard from people, it was the correlation between the top 10 party schools
Right.
in the United States. You got everybody has that one person they went to college with, that they went to the party school, and that's what they did. Maybe they barely got their degree. Maybe they came home and didn't have it, but they had a fun time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I fell in when it comes to my service there. But the cool thing there for me also on the military side of stuff is honing my skills.
Right.
Because of the unit that I was in, I got to kind of cross train and hone my skills into the counterintelligence side of stuff, learning what avenues of approach to take to elicit information from people, learning how to correlate that to what was going on in the other classifications of intelligence, having that firsthand experience instead of just reading it in a report. And then I used that to my advantage whenever I went to Iraq, whenever we were using direct questioning of
Right.
Potential suspected insurgents. So when the infantry guys or the tankers would go out and they'd bring somebody back, I was kind of the point person to question them, to figure out and then make a recommendation as to whether they should be released or if they should go to detainment to actually talk to the counterintelligence guys.
Wow. So, looking back on your military service, what was your fondest memory?
Coming home.
Coming home?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. There were a lot of experiences that I loved, but coming home and not having to deal with the mental side of things that were going on, that was probably the best thing for me.
Well, okay, so switching gears a little bit now, how did you end up here in Cochise County? Now, you did say that you were stationed at Fort Huachuca, and then you were in Indiana that you shared with us earlier in the story, and then you said that you came out here and you're not quite sure, but what drew you back here is my question.
I loved the area whenever I was here for my military training. Walking outside and just seeing the views was something for me that was just awe-inspiring, whether it was a sunrise or a sunset. I don't know what it is about this area, but it's one of those things where I'm just, for some reason, it feels like this is where I need to be at. And if it's just for this period of time, then that's fine. But if it's permanent, then that's awesome.
Which we hope.
Very cool.
We'd love to have you here permanently.
Well, I appreciate it. My mom actually lives in Tombstone.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Right. So she's lived there for the past 7 years, 7 or 8 years now. Tombstone, I know it's just a movie and I know it's Hollywood, but it's my favorite movie of all time.
I love Westerns.
And actually, I ride a motorcycle, and I'm part of the American Legion Riders out of Tombstone, and my road name is actually Huckleberry.
Huckleberry, what's that for? Huckleberry Finn?
No.
Oh, well, that's what I'm asking.
No, I'm your Huckleberry from Tombstone.
Oh, okay.
All right, Doc Holliday.
They use that term?
Absolutely.
I don't remember that.
Absolutely. It is one of the most quoted lines from that movie.
Now, you know what I'm going to do, right?
You're
I'm
going to
go home and I'm going to watch the movie just to listen for that word.
Good. Oh, you'll hear it. There's actually some conflict as to whether he said Huckleberry or whether he was supposed to say Hucklebearer. We won't go into that on this one. But so that's my road name, Huckleberry.
Very cool.
And so I use that as if you need something, whatever it is, I'm your Huckleberry. I'm here to do that.
Right? Awesome, man.
So that's been something that I've always been drawn to. Who are we going to send, right? And it's been okay. Send me. Let's go.
If you have any questions for Joe, put them in the comments section. We'll be glad to answer them now, or if you make a comment later in the live stream after it posts, we'll make sure to follow the feed and answer any questions that you may have as well there. So, Joe, could you share us one last thing? Well, actually, two questions real quick.
Sure.
First one, what is your favorite thing about Cochise County?
I think the history, and the preservation of culture, and that's coming from my spending a lot of time in Tombstone, but it's also Sierra Vista has a lot of different places you can go and see the military history. You can experience all types of different cultures.
Fort Huachuca has a couple of really great museums.
They do.
Post.
They do. And when I was here, I haven't been there since I left in 2003. But they have the Military Intelligence Museum, which if I would have to say one of my favorite ones would probably be that one, because that was my that was
your MLS. Yeah. And how about some volunteer work? Let's get into a little bit about what you're doing on the volunteer side.
Sure. So I am a part of American Legion Post 24 in Tombstone.
Okay.
And I'm also a part of the Riders there. So we put on multiple events throughout the year.
You just had a big event last weekend, didn't you?
Well, the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association.
Oh, that's who had it. That's right.
Had a huge event.
But you've got one coming up tomorrow, is it?
We've got one coming up. I don't have my schedule in front of me.
I know. I put you on the spot.
Yes, you did. Thank you. I
welcome.
appreciate it. But we do have Bikers for Boots coming up.
Cool. All right. I know what that's about.
Yep. And that is a wonderful, wonderful experience to help veterans. So that is something that, if you Google that, Bikers for Boots, Tombstone, Arizona, it'll pop up. Should pop up on the American Legion page, and you can find out more information there.
And just so you know, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I interviewed Travis Green. You know Travis?
Not off the top of my head.
Because he's one of the officers of the Riders 24.
Okay.
So he kind of covered some of the events. So
Do you know his road name?
Yeah. His road name?
Yeah.
He did tell me. Doggone it, I forgot. Now he's going to shoot me. Sorry, Travis.
No, I'm a big road name rememberer because it's actually on our vest.
Right. Right.
And I'm a facial recognition guy, right? So I can see your face. If I just met you for like 5 minutes, I'll see your face in Walmart in Tucson. Right?
Well, his interview is up on the live stream on the Facebook page, so you can check it out. You'll see they don't know who it is, because he does talk about that, and he did mention his road name. So So now I understand that you're going to be bringing something very unique here to the Warrior Healing Center. Now, this is what I heard you talking about it yesterday at the volunteer meeting, and I was like, wow, I want to have you come in and tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
Okay. So I am certified in the One Belief Way method of hypnosis. And this is something that Tim Scher has brought forward. I was introduced to his training back in 2022, give or take. Yeah, 22. I had a brother of mine who I had worked with before, and he had gone through Tim Scher's methodology of hypnosis for smoking cessation. His wife badgered him into it, got him to do it, and he quit smoking.
Wow.
Then him and Tim, my buddy, my brother's name is Josh. He and Tim started talking about PTSD with the military and trying to get help with that, because Josh had been battling for years, like many of us. And so they started using Tim Scher's One Belief Away method to help with anxiety and PTSD, negative thought processes, stuff like that.
Could you give us an idea of how that would work? Just a basic, I mean, not an example, but just like, for example, how does hypnosis work on calming people and stuff like that? Is that what it does?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And the methodology we use is more of a getting you into a relaxed state of mind, and a relaxed body posture, and then opening up your mind to being able to be suggestive to what we're trying to do. So like in our first session, if it was with you, I would ask you a series of questions to find out what exactly it is you're trying to change. Okay, whether that be not being respected by your kids, right, or not being respected by other individuals. It's actually one of my clients' things. That was his thing, was he didn't feel respected. So then we go in and we get you into a relaxed state of mind, and then make our suggestions and get you to a point of being able to accept those. And one of the individuals that I had to that is a veteran of the Marine Corps. He was in the Battle of Fallujah, believe he was infantry. We did the first session, and he came out of it, and he was just in tears.
Wow.
Right? And it wasn't, a bad tears. It was just he was in tears, and that was my experience too, because I have been through all of the experiences multiple times. And that's actually why I decided to do this, is because I saw how much it helped me, and I wanted to bring that to other veterans, first responders. The general public is definitely more than welcome to partake, but being a veteran, being a retired police officer, I was medically retired. It's one of those things where I want to help as many people as possible.
Right.
So then I took him through the second session, and between the second session and the third session, because we were going through the 4-session process, he went and checked himself into the VA. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is an individual like a lot of us, and I'm not going to knock on the VA, but he didn't like going there. Right.
Right.
A lot of people don't like going to hospitals.
Right.
Right. So then you throw in all the negative aspects in there. But so he went, checked himself in, and said, I want to detox from alcohol.
Wow.
Okay. He got detoxed from alcohol, and then after that he said, what else can I do? I want to go somewhere else. I want to do something else to make sure that this alcohol is not something that's part of my life anymore. So the VA was able to send him to a 90-day inpatient facility, and they helped him get to the point where he's going through the steps process, which was fantastic. But the alcohol thing was not something that we were actually trying to cure.
Right.
Okay.
It just came up.
It was in his brain.
Right.
Right. So he didn't think he could be in a leadership position in his volunteer organization or in any organization because he was an alcoholic. Right. So our hypnosis sessions brought those feelings to the forefront and gave him the ability to say, this is what I want to do. I want to get off this. I want to stop doing this. I want to be a better person. Right. Those were his thoughts, his beliefs.
Right.
So he took the action and made that happen. And he's doing well. Right.
Great. I'm glad to hear that.
In alcoholism is one of those that it is extremely difficult to kick. Right. It is a fight for the rest of your life. But so is everything else in our life.
Yeah.
Right. To be happy. Right, to move forward in your career, to be able to go out there and help others. It is a fight every single day. And the One Belief Away method gave him that ability to take that step forward. And that's all that we can ask of anybody, is just keep on taking that step forward and going on to do whatever it is that you want to do.
And as human beings, we have such addictive behaviors that people want to kick, opioid use. They want to kick smoking, weight loss. I mean, there's just a whole big umbrella of things that can.
Absolutely, but it also comes down to having a negative mindset. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, those negative mindsets are beliefs in our brain. Okay. Our outlook on the world is a perception of what's going on, right?
Man, that's deep.
Isn't it?
It is.
You know, you and I are going to look at something and have a completely different perception.
Ain't that the truth?
And,
Yep.
and how do you explain that? Right?
I don't think you can. That's just human.
It's
being
human
humans,
nature,
yeah.
right? So let's look at the negative aspects that we're having.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those negative thought processes that you can't do something, that you won't be able to do this. How do you change that? Well,
Need some positive reinforcement.
you need some positive, exactly,
positive thinking.
exactly. But we need to reprogram
Mm-hmm.
that brain. Okay, that is, we've got a computer up in here. A lot of people don't understand that. All right, we have electrical stuff going on in there, and I'm not a subject matter expert on the brain.
Right.
Okay, but I can tell you that your beliefs are what guide you through and have you react and respond to things going on in your life today. All right, and where do we get those beliefs? Well, we get them from our childhood. That's where it all starts.
Right.
We react to things as I'm 42 years old. All right, so whenever I started this process, I was 40, and there were times where I felt the anxiety. I felt the lack of ability to do something that I wanted to do. And how did I respond to that? I shut down because I was, for whatever reason, taught myself, saw it through my perception, whatever it was as a child, that I can't do something.
But you know something,
Right.
Joe? You're on a new journey today. And that new journey is helping others.
Right.
Right? Don't you think?
It is, absolutely. And that's where going through the One Belief Way method,
Yeah.
right, it brought to me the ability to help others, to know that for me, I understand how to deal with what I went through,
Mm-hmm.
and now I can help others deal with what they went through,
Very cool.
right? Our belief systems pretty much are set by about 8 to 12 years old. Okay, how we react to things, how we respond to things. So I was responding to things as an 8 to 12-year-old. Right? Now, I'm not. Okay? Is it a work in progress? Absolutely. Just like anything and everything. But it is one of the best journeys that I've ever been on.
So if we have any veterans that are watching right now that want to take advantage of your services, how would they be able to schedule an appointment or be able to make arrangements to talk with you?
I can give you my phone number and email address.
Well, I know that you texted it to me personal,
Yeah.
but what I was going to do is I'll have Kathy put it up in the header
Okay.
of the interview of your phone number. So I'll pass that information on to her.
Fantastic.
I didn't know if you had like a website too, or
The website is in progress
okay,
right now. I do have Facebook.
okay,
Charlie Mike OBA is my Facebook business account, and it's got my phone number on there. It's also got my email address on there, so you can reach out to me that way. And like you said, Kathy can put a header on there.
yeah. I want to thank you for taking the time to come in and sit down and share your story, and I would love to have you come back in a few months, and because when will you be starting to do the services here at the Warrior Healing Center? Do you have a start date yet?
I don't have an exact date, but
Okay.
it's basically going to be as people need me
Okay.
to be here for them. And that's one thing. Warrior Healing Center has been fantastic. And they're going to allow me to use a room here so that I can meet with veterans in person.
Right.
And that is fantastic because a lot of the stuff that I do is virtually. I can do this with anybody, anywhere, technically in the world, if I can speak their language. But the Warrior Healing Center, I can't say enough about how welcoming that they've been to let me come in and utilize a room to help other veterans.
Well, we're happy to have you on board and see what you have. And again, I'd love to have you come back in a few months and maybe, without giving like specifics and names and stuff, but maybe just tell us a little bit about how your journey is still going and how receptive. Because I think that what you're offering is a very valuable service, and I think it's one that's needed. It's one that's not offered, anywhere that I know of in Sierra Vista. Maybe it is, and I just aren't on the up and up. Also, real quick, Q, Eric Quimby, Q,
Yep.
said Travis's road name was Rhino.
And Rhino, here's the funny thing. I know Rhino very well.
Do you?
I never knew his first name.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one thing that I think is the going from the military and always having that name tag on.
Right.
You just remember people's name
Last
tag in their
name.
face, and that's
Yeah.
it. No, Rhino's awesome. Rhino is awesome. And so is Q. Q's the director of the Rider program over in
So thanks,
Tombstone.
Q, for letting us know on that, bro. Appreciate it. A couple events coming up here real quick in the Cochise County area. Make sure to be on the lookout today and tomorrow as the Tour de Zona is taking place here in our area. So again, there's lots of signs out and markers. So as you're driving around town, please be cautious of our cyclists that are on the road. Thank you. On Mondays, starting at 1700, going to 1830 hours, we have Tai Chi and Qigong class that takes place here at the Warrior Healing Center. On Monday, starting at 1745 and going to 1900 hours, we have the Discovery Bible Study, which takes place in the Warrior Healing Center's military library. On Tuesday, 1400 to 1530 hours, it's the True Alta Hope and Wellness Support for Caregivers. That takes place in the Warrior Healing Center's main conference room. On Tuesday, starting at 1700 and going to 1830 hours, we have the Cochise Linux Users Group that takes place right here at the Warrior Healing Center's main conference room. On Wednesday, starting at 1430 and going to 1600 hours, is the Flutes for Vets Circle, which takes place here at the Warrior Healing Center. And then on Thursday, starting at 1730, going to 1930, is Burger Night at the VFW Post 9972. And yesterday we had our bagels and brews. So usually if we have our bagel and brew, I think the drum circle is going to be out there today. I don't know because it wasn't on the events, but maybe they'll be out here today as well. That would be cool. They were out here last month, and I couldn't believe the turnout for that. I don't know if you've ever seen it or experienced it, but it's amazing what they do with the drums. It's just amazing to listen to. They get that rhythm going, man, and it's awesome. So, Joe, thank you very much again for coming in and taking the time to share your story, and we're so excited to have you on board here at the Warrior Healing Center, and welcome aboard, sir.
Awesome.
We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to come in and talk with you.
Well, again, my pleasure. So I will see you again next Friday on March 29th, everybody. Have a great weekend. And again, watch out for the cyclists out there on the road. God bless. Bye-bye.